Hello, this is Clayton with Aeromotive Research and Development Group. And today we're going to be sharing an overview presentation of the SynMax water cooler products regarding performance advantages for the racing and automotive coolant system. Now we're going to be touching on each slide very fast in a summary fashion. Should you want more details, please review the presentations from SynMax University, Aeromotive Research on YouTube, etc. So put your belts on, get ready to go, because the green flag has just dropped. A SynMax water cooler products is available in a 16-ounce concentrate, which is good for like 3 gallons of distilled water, or the premix. Water cooler products have been used and was selected with an IndyCar engine manufacturer and builder when they originally were transferring from the V8 Indy program to the V6 turbo program, because you were going to have a motor that was almost half the size, creating the same amount of BTU energy, and but they only could use the same size radiator, so they needed a coolant product that would work better. Now, one of the problems that happened was within the engine is that these teams were not following technical directives properly, and they had to Teflon the engine on the inside around the cylinder sleeves because of all the contamination that was happening. So they looked to water cooler product around 2011 for a solution. Now, this water cooler product, which we'll talk about later as we go on, fulfilled the requirement of this IndyCar manufacturer, engine manufacturer, to be able to provide coolant system efficiency, protection within the cylinder heads, and the many other advantages that are here. Now, one of the tests that was conducted was for the engine coolant system protection, and it was for the cylinder wall cleanliness to improve the heat transfer performance so that they didn't have to use the Teflon coating anymore on these cylinder sleeves. Now, the cylinder sleeve test was pretty simple. It was a 72-hour protection and soak test. And on the left, we had the SynMax water cooler premix, and on the right, they had the product that they were currently using, no offense to the name, called Conklin. After the end of staying in the little buckets half filled, the SynMax water cooler product had no visible coating or substance on it, where the Conklin did. Now, because of this, it was chosen for the engine under technical directive. Why? Because they wanted coolant system cleanliness and performance repeatability. Here you can be able to see what it looks like of the performance within the radiator. Also, that same cleanliness went into the engine. Now, the decision was further made to be used in the engine build at the dyno room through technical, race operations. The entire technical directive was to use the water cooler product. Because of this consistency, it was able to help the engine and the technical team to achieve 5 manufacturers' championships in the area for coolant system and performance repeatability, as these engines had to last 2,500 miles without any failure. A very important area for racing and automotive coolant systems is British thermal unit, or heat energy transfer, horsepower and energy transfer within the radiator and cylinder heads. Now, in heat transfer, you have to have sufficient fluid flow. You're going to have what's called convection, which is moving heat molecules to the cold. Cold air goes past them through the radiator, cool fluid comes back and reheats the engine. You have to have effective heat transfer performance. Now, what happens with effective heat transfer performance is you have what's called a delta T, or a difference between inlet and the outlet. With the water cooler chemistry, this is about a 40-degree difference, and it's been proven up to 120 degrees in atmospheric chamber in racing conditions. Now, further shown in a larger thing, this is water cooler product all right, with the distilled water, all right? And what you have here is the difference between the inlet temperature of 163 degrees and the outlet temperature of 130 degrees, creating an average of 35 degrees difference with a high of 40. In other words, at the radiator, it cools up to 40 degrees. Now, if you used a regular glycol coolant, it would be about 15 degrees. If you used water with another coolant system treatment, you're probably at about 20 to 25. So the SynMax water cooler will provide you an advantage, pulling off the cylinder head and cooling at the radiator. Now, like we mentioned in the cylinder head, this is very, very important, okay? Because the cylinder head cooling results that happen is that the heat transfer that comes off is between 3 to 5 degrees at the cylinder head and in the upper parts of the cylinder sleeve chamber area. So the conclusion is, with a qualified chemistry, it will provide improved radiator heat transfer for cooler engine and cylinder head operations. Another very important area is what's called standing system pressure, along with heat vapor bubbles, foaming cavitations, and the effects of the performance that they have. One of the problems in racing today, be that NASCAR or any other series, okay, a common historic problem that has happened is, how do I get this standing pressure? The vehicle is just sitting there and I can get up to 35 pounds of pressure. Well, the problem here is alloy gases that get emitted from the aluminum. Well, how do you stop that? Well, we're going to talk about that in a minute. You see, the problem is air bubbles in the system have 10 times compressibility as compared to regular fluid of oil or water. It's like steam power, you know. If you could harness this power, it'd be a great thing. But in automotive coolant systems, it's a bad thing. You don't want steam. You don't want boiling going on, all right? So there was a solution on this that was discovered along with the IndyCar teams for coolant system pressure and cleanliness problem solved. Because if you cannot solve this, the coolant PSI is out of control, and that is bad. You don't want standing system pressure. See, aluminum alloy gases or metal hydrides or hydrogen vapor bubbles or alloy gases happens when, during the molten process of creating aluminum or the metal, that hydrogen is trapped. And if this metal is not treated and coated and protected and cleansed properly, these gases will emit out, all right? And then these alloy gases create standing coolant system pressure. Now, aluminum is a flexible metal, all right? But you see, these hydrogen bubbles and the alloy gases will not disperse and disappear once it starts coming out. But metal hydrides can be controlled with coolant system chemistry, such as the water cooler. Now you have common nucleate boiling, we know that, which happens and starts to happen at about 85 degrees atmospheric outside temperature. And we have common film boiling that takes place. But system pressure is different. This is metal emitting out of the aluminum. All right, we know that there's a difference between vapor bubbles, nucleic oil hotspot areas, film boil. That is controlled with the water cooler protection that comes forward with the coolant system treatment. Now you might say, Clayton, this situation of standing system pressure is so important. Did you guys ever conduct a test to be able to see how that goes? Well, yes, we did. There was a radiator system pressure 5-time repeatability test. Why? It was to discover a qualified chemistry to provide metal or aluminum protection for the coolant system pressure control. What it was is that there was 3 radiators selected, and what took place was each radiator every day for 5 days was put into a regular oven, and it had the 5% treat rate. So you had the water cooler, you had brand NKC and then brand VSC. And what happened at the end of those 5 days, it took 3 weeks total to do it. At the end of the 5 days, the national brands with a V had over 25 pounds of pressure. The second, which was a national brand used, had 12 pounds, between 10 to 15 pounds of pressure. The water cooler product had 0 standing pressure. The water cooler had 0 standing pressure when the other brands had between 12 to 25 pounds per pressure. Because what they did is they put the radiator in, they let it stay, get up to 200 degrees for 1 hour, and then they would check the pressures every day for 5 days. The water cooler created 0 pressure at 200 degrees operational temperature at this test. Now you might say, why did this happen? Well, it's very simple. One of the reasons water cooler created or allowed 0 pressure was because the radiator was kept clean. It protected the water, the tubes in the radiator, was able to coat it and protect it. The chemistry performed a very well job. Where a standard coolant, such as below, would just create rust and contaminants and allow corrosion and rust, etc., for metal surface degradation. The SynMax did not allow metal surface degradation. In a racing radiator, here we had Danny Lensing here, and in a late model, we had a radiator that was good for up to 2,000 racing miles, and he always used the water cooler product. Now, with over 2,000 racing miles with a steel engine block at 500 horsepower, you were able to see the results with the 100% premix that was in there. And it says, Clayton, was the radiator good? Well, it was good till, it was a championship race and hit the wall. All right. So the only thing that's going to kill a radiator using the SynMax product is a wall at about 100 or 200 miles an hour. All right. If you can keep it off the wall and keep it clean, she'll keep running forever, usually doubling the radiator service life. You just saw a radiator with 2,000 racing miles for an average short track racing application. Let's look at an IndyCar application with 5,000 racing miles when this engine manufacturer, under technical directive, used SynMax water cooler. You see the system cleanliness and pressure problems were solved. Well, how was this happen? You see this radiator that we have right here had over 5,000 racing miles on it. Okay? And what it did is that the tubes were cool, the tanks were cool. The only reason that they had to replace the radiator is because it had 5,000 miles on it. It was 90 on the inside was 98.5% clean like new, but from long-term use, they always would want to start the new year out with that. So thank you for KV Racing for providing the radiator for us to review it. Now, the reason this works so well is because from the engine build to the dyno to technical services and everything, they start and end this with the water cooler product. Now, the other reason that is so important is that then when they go to have their engine rebuild, they'd have very little problems that they have to deal with. Furthermore, when engines would be replaced, put in, and replaced as it goes on, they would always ensure that the radiator would always maintain proper cleanliness for continued race operations. So our next presentation is water quality distilled versus regular tap. One of the things we have to look at is you need to use distilled water, not tapped or filtered water, because no matter how clean it looks, invisible to the human eye, you've got salts, minerals, and contaminants and microparticles that fall out at 130 to 140 degrees Fahrenheit. You see, distilled water through evaporation and condensation process is 100% clean. Now, if you can't get technical lab-grade product, well, just go to the supermarket and get some distilled water there. Why? Because, as mentioned, the salts that are within regular water come out and then cause tremendous problems of corrosion, rust, and contamination. So the simple choice is this. You either use tap water with a common radiator treatment for rusty problems, or use distilled water with water cooler protection and have performance repeatability and consistency. Now, the water cooler concentrate is available in a 16-ounce bottle, and it works with up to 3 gallons of distilled water, creating a 5% FIA legal treat rate. if you don't want to go out and get the distilled water and you want to have the technical grade water with the exact formulation, then use the water cooler premix. It's a racing coolant product, non-antifreeze, easy to use, and it will provide a 5% treat rate with the technical grade distilled water acceptable to all sanctioning bodies in Europe and the United States. Again, if you want to be able to experience cleanliness with an aluminum radiator and steel block, as we have in this 2,000 miles on this radiator, use a water cooler premix and water cooler product. Again, here is the 5,000 miles cleanliness in a high-end Indy racing program. So the conclusion is, have qualified water, which is distilled, 100% pure, with water cooler system treatment, either premix or together, to provide coolant system protection and performance repeatability. Now, another area that's very important to look at is electrolysis and the effects upon components and performance. You see, electrolysis, the definition is when water is able to carry electricity. Well, the bottom line is this: you want to have acidic control. If you do not have acidic control by not having the salts and minerals in there, then when the acidic gets out of control, it's going to carry voltage and an electrical charge. You cannot fix it. You have to replace the entire coolant in the system. Now, electrolysis happens when the fluid becomes acidic. So what we want you to do is just start off with distilled water with a qualified treatment, and electrolysis simply will not happen. All right? Why? Because electrolysis in an acidic environment acts like a battery acid. It will lower the heat transfer. So to prevent the entire situation, start with pure distilled water with no minerals or salts and use a qualified coolant system treatment. The qualified coolant system treatment will help prevent electrolysis because it contains products for acid stabilization, neutral stabilization, and consistent pH balance to prevent the electrical charge process from occurring. So the conclusion is, water cooler protection, along with the distilled water, helps prevent electrolysis and the effects upon the components and maintaining consistency for your heat transfer performance. Now, an important area is all-weather maintenance for long-life antifreeze performance and protection. Now, one of the products that's used by the IndyCar engine manufacturer is the Aeromotive coolant. Why? Because it is a product that is bio-based and used in winter conditions, resulting in the testing for the multiple championships, and was part of the components of the entire technical directive with this engine program. Now, the Aeromotive coolant, number 7, extreme duty formulation, has all the performance characteristics of water cooler racing product, but it has the ability for over 50,000 hours of operation, 500,000 miles, contains no ethylene or propylene glycols, it has an anti-bolt to 300 degrees Fahrenheit above, antifreeze to -90, and provides all the other performance characteristics found within the water cooler product. Now, the Aeromotive coolant, although developed in racing with proven durability, is designed for military, marine, commercial, automotive, gasoline or diesel, extreme duty, long life applications. Another important area is simple engine and coolant system performance measurements. Now, please look at our presentation on this to give you the exact details. Basically, you can be able to, in your own way with your own car and your own team, own automobile, you can be able to do your own measurement points of the inlet and outlet on the water, on the thermostat, on the cylinder head, on the block, and you can also do that for the oil cooler as well. Here on the oil cooler, whether it's in the radiator or if it's separate, you can be able to see if the radiator is functioning properly, if it needs to be cleaned out or whatever for the heat exchanger on the oil. Now, what's most important that we have to understand along with the convection process is you need fresh, clean air flowing over the cooling tubes, all right? And for us to be able to have that measurement, because those cooling tubes need to be clean inside and they need to be cleaned outside. So make sure you got fresh, clean air moving through when you're doing your measurements. So the conclusion is stay updated with your engine, radiator, and your coolant system with performance, simple measurements. Now, the product as we're sharing with today is the SynMax water cooler treatment. You see, 1 bottle of concentrate is able to treat up to 3 gallons in your system with distilled pure water. All right, doesn't contain any glycols. Designed to meet the racing rules of FIA treat rate for 5%, which is also accepted in the World Endurance Championship, Formula One, the Le Mans series in Europe, including in the United States for IndyCar, SCCA, along with NASCAR. All right, ARCA. Why? One of the things that they always say is you have to use the water that's available at the track. What you need to do? I'll tell you right now. You just go to the store that's 1 mile down the road, go buy some distilled water, show it to your tech, pour the water in, pour the treatment in, and they'll see that you bought the water locally, and everybody can buy the water at the same spot. So there you go. That answers that one. Anyway, you want to be able to have a product that will provide thermal system performance repeatability, coolant system efficiency, increase heat transfer and convection capability, increase the performance of the nucleate and film boil. You want to be able to reduce the temperatures in the cylinder head and combustion chamber, control the contamination of the coolant system passages, reduce the foaming and cavitations, and bring to zero as best as possible the alloy gases in the system pressure. You want to be able to have protection from the rust on the steel, corrosion on the aluminum, protection for the electrolysis, pH balance and acidic control, water pump bearings, fluid surface, friction reduction, condition the seals and rubber hoses and all the components within the coolant system. Now, if you don't want to buy the distilled water, well, heck, go out and buy yourself the SynMax Water Cooler Racing Coolant product. Okay, it's 1 gallon, direct and simple, easy to use, guaranteed quality each time. You just pour it, and there you go. It's the same high performance, 5% FIA treat rate. I say, Clayton, who uses this? Well, as mentioned before, this is 2012. The V6 turbo engine manufacturer, under technical directive, uses water cooler product, okay, along with the distilled water. These are engines that have to last for 2,500 miles. 2.2 liter V6, topping out at 12,000 RPMs. All right. It is the only coolant system product allowed to be used by this IndyCar engine manufacturer. And you saw the results with the PWR radiator. At the time was like $9,000 just for the radiator. And in the 5 manufacturer championships, 2012, 13, 14, 15, and 16. So, if you want to have the SynMax water cooler performance advantage, these same championship cooling system results are for you as well. This is Clayton with Aeromotive Research and Development Group, and I want to thank you for the time that we've had together. And as Wayne Lensing stated, racing radiator cleanliness and performance will help you achieve the championship results. Now, we went through quickly many of the areas, and you will find detailed presentations at either SynMax University, aeromotiveresearch.com, or YouTube, etc. So, on behalf of Wayne Lensing, Danny Lensing, Performance Parts Supply, the Left-Hander Chassis Group, including SynMax Performance Lubricants, we want to thank you for our time today. Should you desire to purchase these products, get a hold of us at www.synmaxoil.com. Call us here in the Chicagoland area at 815-389-9999. And if you have any technical question, send us an email at office@aeromotiveresearch.com. On behalf of Wayne Lensing, thank you for the time that we've spent together, and we will look forward to seeing you at our next presentation. Thank you, and good day.